Anybody that doesn't know who I am, I'm Kip Elbaum, by the way. I'm Don's son. It is the birthday party for the one and only, the boxing legend, and my dad, the one and only Mr. Don Elbaum. One of the big reveals tonight is that the legend is not 100 years old. He's not 50 years old, but amazingly enough, he has had a career in boxing unlike almost anyone. He's 90 years old today, and he's still active, he's still in boxing, he still travels, and he ain't nowhere near done yet.
That's right.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Oh, he hates me now for that one. I used to be his son. One of the world's leading professional gamblers and poker players. He's also an odds maker in Vegas. He's got an amazing podcast, and he's become in the last 10, 15 years, whatever, one of my dad's best friends. He's repeatedly seen on ESPN, and he came in tonight. So let's bring up the one and only Mr. Bill Krakenberger to start talking about my pops.
Also I had, people don't know this, and Don, I don't know if you probably didn't even see the Showtime show. So I did a Showtime show 2 years ago, 4-part series on Showtime. I brought Don on the show with me called Action, and we were at Monmouth Park. Do you remember that, Don? A couple years ago. And so you were on there with me too, and I tried to, but people don't know this part. I've been on ESPN's Sports Center probably 100 times now as a guest, but the first time I was on ESPN was from Don Elbaum. Don brought me on a show called Cold Pizza, I don't know, 20-some years ago. It was the first time I was ever on ESPN, and that trip, we actually made a trip on a train from Philadelphia to New York City. And on that train, he also had someone else, a fighter by the name of Gennaro Pellegrini, who was also a Philadelphia police officer. He was a young kid, 29 years old. On the train up there, we had a great time. I took him out to Greenwich Village. We went over to the New Yorker Hotel. I don't know if you remember that. This was like 25 years or 20, no, I guess not 25, but 20-some years ago. And Gennaro and I went out to eat. Don, you went and did some business with ESPN. We were both on ESPN that day, the Cold Pizza show. And Gennaro on the way home, I hate to say this part, Don, you fell asleep on the train. So it was just me and Gennaro talking. You were snoring up front. And Gennaro, unfortunately, told me, Bill, I just got engaged. I just became a Philadelphia police officer, and they called me back to Iraq. And I guess you know where I'm going with this. So 6 months later, Gennaro was killed in Iraq as a 29-year-old kid. And it just touched me so much. I flew in from Vegas, went to his funeral with Don. We both went to his funeral. But Don put him on ESPN. Don also promoted his first fight. That was his, am I right by saying that, Don? That was his one and only, what is it, his only fight? His only fight at the Philadelphia Blue Horizon. And if it wasn't for you, Gennaro would have never got his 15 minutes there, and he got it twice by being on ESPN. So all our props to you, Don. So I've had some good times with Don over the years, and I was proud to come in from Las Vegas for this event. I wasn't going to miss it. I actually drove here from Atlantic City. I was trying to get direct flights. I hate flying, stopping, and getting off planes. I just said, I'm just going to drive. So I drove from Atlantic City, flew into Philly, went to Atlantic City for a couple days, terrorized them a little bit, and then I drove up from Atlantic City. I wouldn't have missed this. And unfortunately, Teddy Atlas was going to be here. He introduced me to Teddy Atlas, and Teddy got to be one of my best friends. And Teddy was going to be here too, but he films on Wednesday. I film on Wednesday too, though. I do a weekly show. I film on Wednesday. I do a nationwide Sirius satellite radio show every day. I also do a show, a podcast every Wednesday. Well, today I brought Don on my podcast, so tomorrow that'll be out. You can just search Wisecracks podcast wherever you find free podcasts, Cracks with a K. And Don was on today and told some great stories today. Well, just fantastic stuff. I don't know if many of you know Don's stories with Frank Sinatra, with just Joe Louis. He told the Joe Louis story today. Joe Louis came to your parents' house. That was here in Erie, Don. So Joe Louis actually came. Don was promoting Joe Louis, and Joe was like one of your heroes, am I right? And Don actually had him over to had Joe over to Don's house and with his parents. Great stories today. I've been with Don so many times. I was the gaming editor of Trump Magazine back in 2000 and 2001. And I had Don, I called Don one day, I said, Don, come on, you want to go meet Donald? I said, we'll go, and then you already knew him. I didn't even know. I'm out there, I think I'm being a big shot. Come on, come see Donald, and you already know Donald. But, so you came up to me that day with me to New York, and Donald and I took a picture that day, and you show that picture off, you still have it, you show it to everybody. But that was also a fun day. Don, I've been all over with Don, so I just wanted to come up here and say a couple of things. But let me close with this. This is a true story, and no one would really believe it. We told it last night at dinner. So Don's been a little bit of a luck charm for me. And I know he's usually a black cat for a lot of people, I heard, but with me, you're a luck charm. So it was snowing. Don, I got you a room. I remember it was at Trump Plaza in Atlantic City. I got you a room for a couple nights. I'm 13 miles away from Atlantic City. There's a foot and a half of snow on the ground. We can't even get in. And I said, Don, there's a drawing, and according to the Gaming Commission, they have to give away this car today, these cars, his and her Mercedes, his and her BMWs. So I said, I'm going to go over there. Come on, I'm coming over for that drawing. I go over for the drawing. It takes me an hour and a half to get 13 miles because of the snowstorm. And I literally had my ticket in my hand. We go in, get the drawing. I had my ticket in my hand, and I give the ticket to Don. I said, Don, hold this. There's not really a lot of names in that drum. Hold this for me. I'm going to win these cars. And Don must have thought it was a setup, which it wasn't. And sure enough, they say, Bill Krackomberger, come up front. And Don's like, this is not happening. So, I took the cash option, and I gave Don, I think I gave you $1,000. You're saying I only gave you $500, but I gave you $1,000. So I gave him $1,000, and he got mad at me. He's like, $1,000? How much are these cars? I said, like 60 grand, 70 grand. And so that now, this is not the only thing. The second luck streak was, he went with me to another casino one day at Bally's, and I hit a $30,000 progressive slot machine. three $10,000 jackpots. And same thing, I gave you money and you got mad at me. There wasn't enough. But, yeah, so you've been a luck charm for me. I'm happy to be here, folks. I'm happy to come here with my buddy Don. He's one of my best friends in life. I really don't have a lot of friends by choice, but not best friends anyway. And I just wanted to say it's your night, and thanks for inviting me. I'm glad I'm here, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
you. Is one of the legendary sports and extremely legendary boxing writers from the heyday and on. Cleveland, Ohio was one of the great boxing, and it remains, sports towns. He's an internationally known author. And he was with the Cleveland Plain Dealer for, I don't know how many years. He probably doesn't want me to say how many years. He is also, finally, he has stepped up to the plate and is writing the book on my father's life. And it is about damn time that this happened. Mr. Dan Coughlin, please come on up.
Yeah.
Dan.
Kip, thank you for that totally invalid introduction. Now, I knew Don during his Cleveland days. This was the late 60s into the 70s when he came to Cleveland. There was a void. Larry Atkins had retired as our longtime boxing promoter in Cleveland. Don swooshed in to fill a vacuum, and we enjoyed, must have been 6 or 7 years with him in Cleveland. And so that's my little perspective. Later on, I traveled with him. We'd go to alley training camps when he was getting ready for Frazier and things like that. Don introduced me to I was the young boxing writer at the Cleveland Plain Dealer. I was there for 18 years. And every time I got together with Don, it was another thrill and another story. He brought one of Gil Clancy's fighters into Cleveland. And so I'm talking to Gil. We're having dinner late one night at Captain Frank's out on the pier. And Gil was slopping down this linguine and clam sauce, and he's got it all over his face and all over his tie. And it was appalling. But anyway, he told me that he knew that Don was a great promoter, because he said people, you know, they pick you up at the airport and they've got these real clean cars, Lincolns and Cadillacs. He said, Don picked me up. Oh, and then, by the way, and they do nothing to promote a show. He said, Don picked me up in a beat to shit, whatever he had. And it was with posters and flyers and everything, the back seat flooded with all this stuff. And he said, I knew this was a working promoter. Don worked many angles, as you all know. One time in Cleveland was known in the early 70s as the car bomb capital of the world. We were doing, the gangsters were blowing themselves up, you know, at least one a month. And so one night, middle of the night, Don's car was blown up.
Oh my gosh.
And I told this story on Greg Peterson's, whatever he's doing with that camera. He was recording some stories out here. And so I told, I don't know if, so now I'm telling it for the second time tonight. And it'll be largely the same. Middle of the night. Don's not hurt, of course, he's sound asleep, but he hears this big explosion. And so then this was in the parking lot of a hotel in Warrensville Heights. And Don was sound asleep, and the next day the police chief is out there doing an investigation, and poor Don, he's, there was hardly any gas in the car, but he had a brand new battery in it, and that's what really burned him up. And the police chief of Warrensville Heights said, I'm there standing and witnessing to this conversation. The chief said, Don, you better get yourself a bodyguard. And Don said, no, what I need is a driver. But anyway, the guy who blew up his car was Danny Green. And Danny had an obligation to somebody to blow up Don's car. But Danny Green liked Don. And in fact, he was a big fight fan, and he always bought tickets for his fight shows. So to fulfill his obligation to this third party, he just blew up the car when he knew Don wouldn't be in it. So anyway, he filed the insurance claim and claimed that it was a brand new Cadillac. So anyway, but I love him. I really do love him. In fact, normally I wouldn't be here because my wife had another one of her chemo treatments today, and so normally I would have to be at home. But no, Don only turns 90 once. Twice. Well, like he gave me he promoted Sugar Ray Robinson's last 3 fights, and Don gave me a pair of, to cement our friendship. He gave me a pair of Sugar Ray's gloves from his last fight. How nice. They were both right-handed. So Don, I wouldn't have missed it.
Thank you.
So, as I said, right around the time I was born in 57. Right around then, my father, I can't remember the trainer's name anymore, unfortunately, but they worked on the railroad. The trainer worked on the railroad, and my dad went down to the railroad to talk to the boxing trainer, and he saw this young man literally pounding steaks on the railroad. And my dad took one look at the way this kid was swinging the sledgehammer and was like, I want him to fight. And he was a good-looking young man, basically fresh off the boat from Italy, along with his family. And that was John Bizzarro Sr., one of the great lightweights of all time. And from Erie, Pennsylvania, he fought 2 world title fights thanks to my father. My father took him to 50 some odd fights in his career. But since that time, there have been multiple Bizzarros that have boxed. It is the biggest boxing family in history. There are more Bizzarros that have boxed than any other family in history. A couple of guys were here, but they had other obligations. They had to leave and go. We got little Lou Bizzarro back there in the corner, but right now Chucky Bizzarro back there. But right now, I want to bring up one of the fighting Bizzarros to say a few words. This kid was tough as nails. He probably had one of the shorter boxing careers of the Bizarros. He decided to go in other directions, but this young man could fight. And he's one of the good guys of Erie, Pennsylvania, and one of the Bizarros. Please give it up, Mr. Angelo Bizarro.
Don, everything we know from you. My kids are all fighting now, and what I learned, I'm teaching them, and I owe it all to you, Don. Everything I learned because of you. I don't say much for words, but I'll tell you, you taught me a lot. From back in the days from Scranton when we went to Larry Holmes, Goodies, you took me to Goodies to train. Everything I learned, I owe it all to you. And I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Don.
So I grew up in the boxing world, and I love every minute of it. It's been an amazing, amazing time. I don't have a pot to piss in. I never made a friggin' penny, and that's okay, because I got to do it with one of the great, great legends of boxing, and an absolutely wonderful, decent, forgiving father. Happy birthday, Dad. Come on up and talk to these folks a little bit. My dad, Mr. Don Elbaum.
This has been like, wow, all right? I can't believe I made it to 51. But first I want to really thank my son and Sherry and Lance for what they did to put this together. This has been just one fantastic, fantastic night. With Dan Cochran, my God, Dan and I go back, and I got to tell you one of my favorite stories. There used to be a place called the Theatrical Lounge. It was on Short Vincent Street in Cleveland. And on weekends, Dan, who again worked for the Cleveland Plain Dealer, I'm not a drinker, but I used to go down there. And we drank. And one of the people that drank with us was a fellow by the name of Danny Green. All right? And again, Dan was telling you part of the story. Danny became a hell of a friend, all right? He bought tickets, he was a big fight fan, and etc. Someone came to him, all right, and offered him $5,000, all right, to kill me, all right? And Danny says, I won't. He said, I'll warn him, all right, which he did. He blew my car to pieces, all right? And I'll never forget, when I was at the motel, I hear this explosion. I'm on the other side of where my car was parked, and the phone rings about a minute, 2 minutes later. And the girl at the other end of the desk said, Mr. Elbaum. I said, yes. She said, did you have a Cadillac? So that took care of that. But let me go back to Dan Coughlin, and this is my major favorite with him. When we would go into theatrical, after drinking, he would go to his car, open up the trunk, and there must have been 50, 60, 70 softballs and a bat. And he would be on Short Vincent Street, throwing the ball up at 2 in the morning, and whack. And my God, those balls were going like 2 blocks, because this guy hit a baseball. But this must have happened 50 times in my life. And I just knew. We go out drinking with Dan Coughlin, he goes to the trunk of his car, 2 o'clock in the morning, there's balls. We knock all down Short Vincent Street. Bill Krakenberger. Wow, what to say about this guy. He's become one of my closest friends. Believe me, Google him. He is a legend. He is a legend. Besides winning the 2 cars, when he gave me the ticket and told me to go pick up the car, I looked at him, I said, what are you talking about? And he said, pick up the car. And what happened, we're in the Golden Nugget, and they got this big rolling machine with like 1,000 names in there, and the person on the stage calls someone from the show, and they come up and they tell, put your hand in there, and they're pulling out a ticket, and Bill's saying, go pick up. I said, what are you? Bill Krakenberger. I cannot believe it. And he gave me $500, all right?
It went up anyway.
And by the way, I'm with him at Bally's. I've never seen anything like this in my life. He's walking around looking at the slot machines. And this is him, by the way. And Google Bill Krakenberger, you'll get wow, all right? And he's walking around, he goes and grabs $1,000, all right, in $10 bills. And he goes, there were $10 bills, 100, there were 10.
There were 10s. There was a reason why there were 10.
No, there were 10.
These particular machines, if you put $10 bills in, it's statute of limitations.
Yeah.
You can tell me.
All right, but anyway.
Yeah, there's a
There's a-
situation where you put 10 in the bill, in the machine.
The first slot at $10,000. This is the way to work. First slot, 10,000. Second, third, fourth, fifth slot, 10,000. Sixth, seventh slot, 10,000. At 10 after 10, I just happened to look at my watch. He goes to the first slot machine, all right? At 10, I think it was 17, it hits for 10,000, and I look at him, all right? He goes to the second one, all right? At 10:22, 10,000. He goes to the third one at 10:37, 10,000. He goes, picks up the 30,000, and he gives me 1,000. I said, boy, are you a cheapskate. But listen, this has been, I got, and by the way, there's a young lady here by the name of Mindy Rhodes. Can you sing? They don't have a piano, damn it.
No.
Can this girl sing? And can she sing? She's played in clubs. I've taken her, I used to manage her and put her in clubs in New York. And one of my favorite, or not favorite stories about Mindy, probably my not favorite, is when I met her and I heard her sing the first time I was with her. I said, I'd like to take you out. She said, Don, I can't. I gotta take care of a horse. I've been turned down 1,000 times, but never for a horse. But Mindy has horses, and she's got every kind of animal there is, and boy, she takes great care of them. But she came here, and she's just, again, a fantastic entertainer. I've got so many other people here, and I just want to thank everyone. This has been from my heart. Thank you so much. It's been just one of my great days of my life. And, you know, this will be a yearly event, by the way. So, thank you again. God bless you all, and just, you know, eat the cake, man. That cost me a lot of money. And by the way, let me bring one more thing up. We're talking about the Bizarros. I mean, they've had some incredible fights in their careers. Now let me bring, there's one fight of all, and that includes Duran and the Tibbs and Kenny Lane, but probably the greatest night, including the Duran fight, that I ever had, when the biggest rivalry that this city ever had with fighters with Johnny Bizarro and Gene Turan. And you cannot believe how many people said, Don, you can't make that fight. I said, Bizarro's going to win. They were betting. There was never betting, not even with the Duran fight. There was never betting in Erie. In fact, his D's was putting up odds on the fight. And Turan was a 2-to-1 favorite. And this is just to me, one of my crowning moments in boxing. I've done stuff with Floyd Patterson, with Muhammad Ali, with everybody, but boy, when Gene Turan and Johnny Bizarro fought, and Johnny won, was just one of the crowning nights in my life in boxing. Again, thank you all for coming, all right? June 16th, 2022, same time. Thank you.